What's going on, everybody? Josh Callaway alongside James D. Jackson, Sooners Illustrated, and 24/7 Sports at the Omni Hotel in Fort Worth, Texas, site of the Armed Forces Bowl Media Day on Thursday ahead of Oklahoma taking on Navy tomorrow in the Armed Forces Bowl at Ammon G. Carter Stadium to close out the 2024 season. James, here we are. We've made it to the bowl site. We're going to wrap up this season tomorrow. Today, we got to hear from Brent Venables along with a couple of players, Kobe McKenzie and Troy Everett. Those are all on the YouTube channel there if you want to see what those guys had to say about what the last month has been like. A lot of changes, a lot of roster movement, both in the additions as well as the subtractions. Obviously, we've been talking about that a lot on the Sooners Illustrated podcast. But as far as this game, James, I mean, it's going to be an interesting matchup tomorrow. I mean, it was talked about a little bit today. Should be a heavy OU crowd. It's a sellout crowd tomorrow in Fort Worth. But a chance for Oklahoma to finish the season at 7-6. We talked about it on Monday. You finish 7-6. Feels a lot different than 6-7. So a chance to try and close 2024 with a little bit of a high note and some momentum to go into the next year.
Yeah, for sure. And that's the biggest thing here. You want to end the season on a really, really good note. And because you got so many moving parts coming into this one, that's kind of caused some of the excitement here. You don't know what Oklahoma team is going to be out there. So you want to see some of these younger guys they're going to get more opportunities here and just see how they play. I mean, you talk about it. Danny Okoye got mentioned from Brent Venables, James Nesta, not necessarily maybe not getting to play in the game, but got a lot of different practice reps and things like that. And those guys get to step up and have a bigger role. Kobe McKenzie talked about it a lot. You know, we talked to him. He gets kind of be more of a vocal leader now. Danny Stuttson's not there.
Right.
It's him and Kip Lewis kind of leading that group and leading that room. And he got to, he gets to have more of an opportunity there. So, like, it just causes so many more opportunities, this type of game. And so you get to see who is what. Like, who can I count on going into next year? And, Arbuckle and things like that, that's always a big thing for OU fans and things like that. And
sure, he
got to help out in practice. He got to help out with Michael Hawkins, that quarterback room, trying to develop that as he's just now got here. So really interesting to see what kind of Michael Hawkins is going to be out there. What kind of group is the defense going to – what are they going to look like without their vocal leaders out there that are usually out there for this team that's going to have – a more different challenge in this going against this Navy offense, which is a little bit different than a lot of offenses around the country. So that's a lot of excitement. And like you said, get one more win. That's all you get. One more win, man.
Feels different.
Yeah,
7-6 feels different than 6-7.
6-7, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that was a major theme today, just youth and new guys stepping up into leadership roles. Brent Venables said 56 scholarship players will be available tomorrow. And obviously the team normally has 85. So that shows you the number of guys that have both left. There's also some injuries mixed in there, some opt-outs. Danny Stutzman and Billy Bowman, they're both with the team, helping support and doing everything they can, but they won't be playing in this game tomorrow. So that opens the door for a lot of young guys, a lot of guys who aren't, even if they're not necessarily young, to step up, like Kobe McKenzie, like Kip Lewis, like you mentioned, to bigger leadership roles. So it'll be kind of a little bit of a little peak, not a full peak, because there's some big names out there that obviously aren't going to be playing this game that are going to be on next year's team, like John Mateer, among others. But it's a little glimpse into next year's squad a little bit. So we'll see what it looks like tomorrow. But let's do our usual game preview as we typically do. Oklahoma and Navy tomorrow. It's really hard to predict what's going to happen in this game because of all the changes. Then just Navy Service Academy creates some extra wrinkles as it is. For you, though, keys to the game as far as Oklahoma's got to do this if they're going to get out of this. I mean, they're a solid favorite tomorrow, but man, Navy's a good football team. They don't have opt-outs. That's not a thing at the Naval Academy. So they're going to have their squad, and they're going to be very motivated and excited to play in this game. What's the key for you for Oklahoma to find a way to get this thing done and win it?
And it's kind of scary a little bit because we haven't really seen it this year, but the offense has to score their points when they get the opportunity to do so because
it's going to be a short game.
Navy can chew the clock if they get things going like they want. So it really has to come down to whenever you get your opportunity offensively, you have to go down and score. If you can score on that first drive at least, that changes the entire dynamic of this game because Navy has to play from behind, which is a lot more difficult with the style of offense they play. So I think that's a big key, especially offensively going into this game.
No, that's a fantastic key because, we are anticipating a quick game tomorrow with the way Oklahoma's ran the ball. And, obviously Navy runs the ball almost every snap. But Oklahoma found some success with the run game. You feel like Michael Hawkins probably can use his legs tomorrow. Yeah, you're right. The number of possessions has a chance to be very limited. So that's a great point. For me, defensively, I mean, it's kind of an obvious, but discipline. I mean, that's what every defensive guy that we've talked to this month has talked about. The triple option, it completely relies on deception and making you overplay your hand. If you don't fall for that eye candy, as they call it, you have to find a way to stay in your lanes and just because that's how Navy's going to beat you. If they fool you and you get loose for a 50-yard run from Blake Horvath or whatever, that's how you're going to lose this game. So if Oklahoma can stay disciplined defensively, they've been really good against the run all year. They should have a chance to force Navy into some passing situations, which is not what they want to be in. They can throw it, but that's not their preferred offense. And then the defense should have a chance to have a pretty good day. So it's all going to come down to discipline.
I talked about Kobe McKenzie just about that, and he pretty much said, it can kind of get boring a little bit because really what you have to do is you have to be able to do the same exact assignment over and over again. And it's just like if one guy messes up their assignment at any point, that's where Navy blows up their, explosive plays and things like that. So that's the biggest key is just like staying true to what you do. Just focus on your assignment and win your assignment, and you'll be all right. And that's the biggest key for that defensive squad.
Right, 100%. Players to watch for you. There's a bunch of options here because there's guys like we talked about are going to be stepping up and playing more snaps than maybe you've been used to, or a bigger role than they've been used to. Where does it go for you as far as a player of intrigue tomorrow?
Yeah, it's got to be in the linebacker room with Kip Lewis or Kobe McKenzie. I think it's like those are the guys. Danny Stubbs not here. You got to step up, and that's a big focal point of any type of defense that plays against Navy style of offense. So, like, those guys have to be on the mark. They have to be set. And it's kind of interesting to see how they're going to handle that situation because, like we saw throughout a lot of the season, Danny Stubbs was the guy that kind of helped the team get lined up against certain packages and things like that. Now it kind of goes back to those guys. They have to figure that out and get everybody lined up and then control their assignment and win their assignment and things like that. So I think that's what it comes down to, especially with players to watch. You really got to watch those guys because they could really make or break this game if they handle their business the right way.
For sure. I throw Samuel Masigo in there too, just from the perspective of no Deshaun McCullough.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming Samuel Masigo will get a lot of cheetah reps tomorrow. I throw him in there too. Offensively, I'll take the obvious. Why not? Michael Hawkins. I mean, this is his first time playing, really, since the South Carolina debacle, and he got benched. We saw Jackson Arnold in his post-benching play pretty well. Can Michael Hawkins do the same? And you saw with Joe John Finley calling the plays as opposed to Seth Luttrell, a lot of QB run game for Jackson Arnold. That would seem right up Michael Hawkins' alley. We know what kind of an athlete he is. When he gets out in open space, I mean, SEC teams had a hard time keeping up with him. Auburn comes to mind. So you have to assume against Navy, not quite the athletes like in the SEC, he's got a chance to run wild if they can utilize that. So he's a big one for me. Everyone has said he's handled everything as well as you possibly could. Getting benched and then, seemingly getting recruited over, if you want to look at it that way, in the transfer portal. He's just worked his butt off, and the players support him, and everyone feels very confident that Michael Hawkins is going to be ready to go tomorrow in this game. So I'm fascinated to see what kind of a game he does, and we talked about it before in the podcast. If you're Michael Hawkins, you're trying to make it awkward. That's what you're trying to do. You're trying to make it a conversation going into next year that, even though John Mateer, he was brought in to be the guy, obviously. But if Michael Hawkins can make it awkward, make it a conversation, then you never know, right? So that starts really now in the bowl prep, but obviously tomorrow in the game against Navy. You want to pick it? This is tough.
Oh, man.
This is tough. The Service Academy you never really know what's going to happen anyway. The last time Oklahoma played a Service Academy was Army, 2018. Went to overtime in Norman. Kenneth Murray had like a jillion tackles. So you don't really know what to expect in these types of games, and you add in the opt-outs and your portals and all that, but as best you can, what do you think is going to actually happen tomorrow?
The good thing that we saw from OU this year, when they play teams that I guess you can say have lesser talent, I'm trying to put it nicely, they just don't have the talent that they play in the SEC, they have taken care of business in those type of games. And so you hope that will transpire and transition into this game as well, because you think one-on-one, OU should have the better athletes than Navy. I mean, that's just what it is. That's why Navy kind of plays their style of offense, which kind of helps them overcome any type of situation like that. That's what it is. So I think OU should win this game. I'll stay behind that because of just what we've seen this year. Even with the opt-outs, there are guys on this team that should be better one-on-one than Navy's situation. So that's pretty much where I put it and where I see it in this.
You got a score?
Okay, I'll get the score right. I thought you wanted to go first.
No, feel free, fire away.
Okay, let's say I'll go 28-17. I think
that's about right.
That's a good score. I think OU wins at 28-17. I think we'll see some touchdowns from this team this time around because, like I said, we've seen that when they play lesser opponents, they've been able to score and do things like that. And as you talked about, with Michael Hawkins now being the guy in that the way John Finley has been running his offense, so that's where I see it. You know, it's going to be really good for him. Michael Hawkins is going to get to run the ball a lot more, which is kind of his specialty. Spread their defense out, run the ball, and then they'll be pretty good. We got guys like Xavier Robinson coming in there.
Yeah.
You know, Taylor Tatum is going to be there. Sam Franklin maybe even get a lot of carries with Javonte Barnes going out. So, like, you're going to see some different ways that OU can attack Navy's defense here, and it's going to come down to, can OU stop them and score in their opportunities and things like that? And I think they will.
Yeah, I'm about right with you. I'm a tick lower scoring, but about the same margin. 24-10 is what I'm going to go with for Oklahoma. I think, it's a talent disparity. Brian Newberry, head coach of Navy, he joked about it today. I mean, there's not a single guy in Navy's roster that had an Oklahoma offer, right? So even though Oklahoma is going to be missing key guys, I don't want to diminish that. I mean, you're missing Danny Stutzman, Billy Bowman. That's a big deal on defense. You have the vast majority of your defense out there. And then offensively, I mean, the offense is kind of in shambles, but that's kind of how it's been all year. I mean, you're looking at the wide receiver room like, oh, man, who's going to catch passes? I think we've been saying that every week all season. So, you know, the offensive line played their best football of the year the last couple of games, Alabama obviously in particular. I think they'll be able to keep that going on Friday, and they'll run the ball pretty well. Xavier Robinson really felt like they found something there. Michael Hawkins used his legs. I think the offense will have a pretty solid day. And defensively, maybe I'll look silly. I think the defense is going to be fine. I know the triple I think having a few weeks to prepare for it as opposed to in the season makes a really big difference. And I think Oklahoma, you know, not a blowout by any means, but a comfortable win, 24-10, and what should be a pretty heavy OU crowd, I would assume. And it's going to be a sellout tomorrow, which is why we're on track for it to be a for a record, a crowd record. That's the expectation, at least, for the Armed Forces Bowl. So.
Nice.
That's why OU's in this thing.
Yeah,
there you go.
Pretty close drive from Norman, like 2.5 hours. So
a lot of OU fans down here, as it is, too. A big alumni base down here. So should be fun. We're looking forward to it. We'll have full coverage, as always. 11 a.m. kick on Friday morning from M&G Carter Stadium in Fort Worth. Obviously, James and I will both be at the stadium, along with Colin Kennedy, who'll be there as well. Tom Green will be contributing to the coverage, of course, as well remotely. On the website, oklahoma.247sports.com. Sooners Illustrated, loads of coverage there already. More to come all throughout the day tomorrow as well. And then, of course, on the YouTube channel, full post-game reaction, instant reaction on the field from us, as well as from Brent Venables and the team as the 2024 season comes to a close tomorrow with Oklahoma taking on Navy in the Armed Forces Bowl. That's it for now. For James D. Jackson, I'm Josh Callaway. We'll see you tomorrow at M&G Carter Stadium as Oklahoma takes on Navy to close out the 2024 season.